Hello my friends, you're listening to Ebird Online, and I'm back to regale you with more analysis from the brand new season of 90 Day Fiance, Happily Ever After. And just before we begin, I do want to apologise for the standard of my audio. I've dropped my mic one too many times, and it's finally given me the big middle finger. So guys, bear with me until I get a new mic. But enough of all that, let's get going. Decisions. Which couple is best to cover? Well, let's just go with the least worst. He's a liar and a bullshitter extraordinaire. He wouldn't know the truth if it slapped him round the face. He's a part-time fibber, yet a full-time fabricator. He's known as the great spinner of yarns from Delhi. He fabricates whenever he can, and he bears false witness on an hourly basis. He's lower than a snake's belly and possesses no backbone. He's never ever been a man of his word. In fact, he's never even been a man. Yes, guys, you guessed it, that's right. We're back with Sumit and brand new wife and Japanese knotweed Jenny. Guys, hang on tight, because Sumit's parents, surprise, surprise, have done the old 1-2 switcheroo. And guys, because Jenny's got an IQ lower than Sumit's belly, she's surprised. Guys, before we begin, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, please ensure you don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new uploads. And just before you go, don't forget to smash that like button. And so, without further ado, I give you Sumit and Jenny. So this crappy couple have been married for just 2 months. And it's still classified information. Nobody knows, it's a big secret. Nobody knows except for, well, me, you, the viewers of 90 Day Fiance, all of America, and Sumit's parents' friends. And in the few months since we last saw them, Jenny and Sumit have taken precautions to try and ensure that if Sumit's parents do find out, they're not going to try and ruin things. And so we see them in what looks like a new apartment. And Jenny explains, well, we don't want his parents knowing where we live, because last time they found out where we lived, they came in the middle of the night to take him away. And I don't want that happening again. And guys, if you remember, that is actually true. They did come in the middle of the night and, well, kidnap him. Don't worry, Jenny. They won't try and kidnap him again. Jenny's virtually spent through her 401k, so there's nobody to pay the ransom. So if we all remember back, Sumit's parents gave sort of a tacit agreement for them to marry. They said they wouldn't give their blessing, but in turn they wouldn't try to stop any wedding. No, you certainly won't try and stop any wedding, because you were never ever going to be told when it was going to be, or even in fact that it was going to be. Even though Sumit's mum tried to say that she had accepted Jenny finally, Sumit knew this was absolute horse crap. And there were a couple of, other little things that gave us a clue that there may be a problem.
मुझे मेरे परिवार को मेरे खानदान को सब लोग ये सोचते हैं कि ये रिश्ता ना हो सबके दिमाग में यही है.
So when we first catch up with these guys, they're in the new house and Sumit's talking to Jenny. And he says that he feels that she's somewhat hesitant to meet his parents. No shit, Sherlock. They absolutely hate the sight of her. And as we've just heard, Sumit's dad actually said that he would never accept her, and nor would any of his ancestors. And Jenny said, I don't know why they just won't accept me. Jenny, because you're a 63-year-old bullshitter who's married someone 33 years younger than you. That's why. And she continued, I thought by now they'd understand. You've decided to choose a different path. Guys, I guess in some ways she's right. He has. He's chosen a very lazy path. For some it doesn't work, and he hasn't worked for many years now. He doesn't want any kids. He doesn't want to work. He wants a wife who'll look after him. And all he wants to do is film for TLC. And also dip his greedy fingers into what little remains of Jenny's 401k. The last time they looked, there was just 300 rupees remaining. And so the couple go out to dinner. And Sumit drops the bomb to Jenny that he's invited his parents around to their old property so that they can all celebrate his new status as a married man. A sort of post-wedding celebration, if you will. Guys, it sounds fun. I, for one, can't wait. But poor Jenny is absolutely blindsided. Because, of course, Sumit the liar had promised her if he was going to tell his parents, he'd let her know and discuss it with her first. And she says, I can't believe you've done this. You never even asked me first. Sumit explains that his parents, unsurprisingly, are important to him and he wants to let them know himself. And Jenny said, oh my God, we'll never ever be happy. and she sits there sulking. She looked at Sumit and said, "Sumit, I'll let you know how I feel about this tomorrow, Jenny. Your face is letting us all know how you feel about it right now." And guys, as soon as they stop arguing, they begin a brand new argument on when they have the meeting, if Jenny's allowed to speak or not. Sumit says not. He says he'd prefer Jenny to take a sort of a neutral UN observer role, a witness role, a mute role. In other words, Jenny, keep it buttoned. And so poor Jenny looks like a bulldog chewing a wasp. Sumit appears not to notice, and he glibly says that he wants Jenny to support him. And she's still moaning on, saying it's such a bad idea to tell his parents, and she remembers back to the time that they last had an argument about them getting married, again back at the old house, and Sumit's mum asked her, "How can you date someone younger than your daughter?" If I were Jenny, I would have retorted with, "How can your son go out with someone older than his father?" Touché. But I know what she's saying. This is fixing to be a right humdinger of an argument. But Jenny's still rattling on about being allowed to speak. She said, "I would like to tell them how I feel." Oh, Jenny, they've heard it all before. There's nothing new. And then she said, "Sumit, why are you always on your parents' side? I want you to be on my side." Well, Jenny, he kind of is. After all, he did marry you against his parents' wishes. He kind of is on your side. So next time we meet up with this couple, they're back in the old house, and Jenny's in the kitchen, and I see it's just as dirty and messy as ever it was. Oh, Jenny, what's wrong with you? Why? You know your mother-in-law is coming round and you're going to drop a bomb on her. But instead of getting there in good time and cleaning the kitchen, you leave it like its usual old trash heap. And Jenny reminds Sumit, "I don't want to be judged by anybody." Well, Jenny, judged you will be, because you can't keep a clean house. And so ominously the doorbell rings, and it might as well be a death knell. Sumit's parents and his brother and sister-in-law all enter the house for the big meeting. Jenny comes in with 6 cups of chai, and she's sweating, as well she might be. And she says to Sumit's mum, "I'm really hot from being in the kitchen." And Sumit's mum gives her a wry smile, and she says in Hindi, "She's hot and sweating from just making tea? Well, it's certainly not from cleaning, that's for sure." It's disgusting. And they all sit on the sofas, cutting their eyes at each other and giving each other daggers. To break the tension, sister-in-law says, "Look how fat Jenny's arms are." What? What a two-faced little brat. If you have nothing nice to say nothing. And guys, I hate that sort of thing. They're all talking in Hindi, slating Jenny, and obviously Sumit can hear it. It's televised, so Jenny, in the end, will get to know what's been said. And I just think it's absolutely despicable behaviour. Awful. And so they all sat rather awkwardly on the sofa, and nobody was saying anything. And so Jenny decided to retire herself from her role of silence and speak up. And she said to his mum, "Remember when we last saw each other in the park?" And his mum nodded sagely. And she said, "What happened? I haven't ever seen you since." Jenny, you have moved secretly." But Jenny continued, "You said that you loved me, and you also said you wouldn't oppose our wedding, and that you weren't going to stop us." And guys, this was quite funny at this point because Sumit was translating, and he translated everything except for "you said you loved me." It's less translation and more sort of Chinese whispers at this point. But his mum had the bit between her teeth now, and she said, "No, I never agreed to the marriage, and I never will. You will never be married. I wouldn't even agree to you being married on my deathbed." And Sumit finally jumps in, and he said, "You did say that." And guys, I had thought that she did say, "Yes, we'll agree you getting married." But when I looked back to do a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills style gotcha moment, I found I was unable to, because Jenny actually asked, "Will you oppose us getting married?" And she just kind of shook her head. So she didn't actually say anything. And I think she knows this, because then she said, "When did I say this? Show me now. Show me the proof." And for all my rewinding and fast forwarding, I couldn't find it, guys. I really couldn't. Although in my mind, I had thought that that was what happened. But Sumit's bored of all the back and forth and the screaming and crying and prevaricating. And he said to his mum, "Let me tell you, we got married." And immediately she burst into tears. She dabbed her eyes on her sari, and she said, "That's it, we're finished. Don't you ever come to my house. If you come to my door, I'll have to embarrass you because I won't let you in." And she sat on the sofa crying, saying, "He's put me through hell all of his life. The person who birthed him so painfully is now hurting me. And then she asked him, how long have you known her? The Ebird could answer that. 10 years. It's quite some time. And she said, you're not my son. You won't be invited to anything from here on in, not even our funerals. What? How can you stop someone from attending a funeral? All of this is being spoken in Hindi, and Jenny doesn't know what's happening. However, she notes the following.
I don't understand what Sumit's mom is saying right now, but it doesn't seem like it's going very well.
And then Sumit said to production, it's as if someone's put their hand through my mouth and ripped out my heart. I can't survive without my family. And there was more screaming and shouting and crying, and they finished by saying they would never ever accept Jenny. And his mum said, all of the love that you have, all of the love for the brothers and sisters and me and your father and your sister-in-law, give it all to her because we don't have a need for it. And outside to production, Sumit's brother and his sister-in-law were very unhappy. His brother said, I'm not happy at all. All her friends will laugh at her. This will have a great impact on her. And then they all get up and leave. His mum and dad reassert that they will never accept Jenny, and Sumit races out after them and leaves Jenny on her own inside to cry. Outside, before they get into the car, Sumit says, maybe you'll change your mind when you have chance to think about it. Oh dear Sumit, she's thought about it. She won't. And then she stands there with her arms behind her back, and he hugs her. She declines to hug him back. And the final scene sees his mum speak to production, and she says, I've lost a son. And that's where we end things for this week. So what does the Ebird make to all of this? Well, my first thoughts and comments are for Sumit's sister-in-law. What an awful human being she is. She sat in front of Jenny, giggling and trying to make Jenny feel as uncomfortable as possible. What's your end game? What's the point of doing that? Now, I couldn't possibly insult you as much as nature has, but I'm going to give it a go. It's honestly absolutely unbelievable that somebody who looks like she does would ever think she can speak about somebody else. She doesn't exactly look great at this point, and she's in the first flush of youth. I've got a feeling she's going to age like old milk in the sun. At the moment, I'd say she's a small town 6, but she's almost certainly going to drop to a 3.5 in but a few years. She not only needs her mouth washing out with soap and water, but she looks as if she could do with a bloody good blast of a water cannon as well. She looks as if she smells musty. And I'm pretty certain that when it comes to a group picture, she's the one they hand the camera to. But yeah, she's really going to have to work on her personality. I think it's highly likely that because of her looks, people probably think she's got a decent one. From what I can see thus far, she's a human being entirely without merit. But anyway, enough about her. On to the issue in hand. I've got to say, this went far worse than I ever thought it would do. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't think that Sumit's mum would be happy by any stretch of the imagination. But even though Sumit's a liar and has an unusual relationship with the truth, it's nowhere near as bad as his mum's. She seems to be the denier-in-chief. Okay, so perhaps she never ever said the words, yes, you can get married. But she did definitely intimate that she wasn't going to be massively upset by it. And she also definitely did say that she loved Jenny, and she's now denying this. I can't wait until the tell-all, until they roll the tapes back. She assumed that she had time to change Sumit's mind, or perhaps for him to fall out with Jenny. But it seems she's out of luck. And she's also been outmanoeuvred by Jenny, who literally raced Sumit to the temple to get married last season. I've got to say his mum did look genuinely shocked when he shouted out, I'm already married. And the room's divided pretty much into 2 groups. Those who know that Sumit's mum will never ever come round, and Sumit. And my next point is about Sumit, and his need to grow a pair of bollocks. He sat there and let his mum and his sister-in-law completely take the piss out of Jenny. And as far as I'm concerned, he's out of order for not calling them out. I consider it to be nothing short of cruel to let Jenny just sit there and be degraded and snickered at and laughed at. He should have either 1, told them on his own and not made Jenny sit there, or 2, stuck up for her when it came on top. And especially when his sister-in-law chatted shit, she should have been thrown out of the house. Jenny knew all along that Sumit was without kahunas, and she actually predicted, when it all goes awry, and it will, you're going to run out and placate your parents and leave me on my own crying. And guys, that's exactly what happened. He still did it, even though she warned him ahead of time that this would infuriate her. And I'd love to say that love conquers all, but I'm really not sure it does. Sumit won't ever be free from his mum. He's a mama's boy. And from what I can see, there is nobody on God's green earth, even Astro Guy, who they all seem to have conveniently forgotten, who Summit's mum listens to. Not her dad, not her other son, nobody. Summit's mum doesn't like Jenny and she'll never ever change her mind. And so I really don't see how this can work. And Sumit said himself, I can't live without my parents. He knows they won't change their minds now. It's been 10 years. I think really there's going to be two courses of action. One, Sumit moves with Jenny to the US and starts a new life. But that of course would mean him perhaps going back to work, and Jenny too. She's almost at retirement age and she'd still have to work to get her rent and so on. I genuinely fear if they don't move, that Sumit will end up being either tricked or coerced into finishing with Jenny, and that will be that. Guys, let me know what you think in comments down below. Do you think this can ever work? I did think at the end of last season they'd got over the worst, but it seems like it's just more of the same. Guys, let me know what you think in comments down below. And what do you think of the sister-in-law? Would you have kicked her out of the house? I know I would. Anyway guys, thank you for sticking with this through my mic problems. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And I will see you very soon. Hopefully next time we see each other, I'll have a brand new mic. Thanks for sticking with this guys. You've been listening to Ebird Online and I bid you good day.